last week on Seacoast Stories.
All of a sudden, I just felt this sensation of like, whatever is supposed to happen right now, all I know is this little girl is going to be so loved. Like, all I know is like, all the people are here. Like, I've done all the right things so that she could have them. And I just was like, okay. And I just fully surrendered. And when I surrendered in that moment, I felt this sensation of like pure bliss. Like, everything's okay. And you have done everything you could do, and you've given all the love, and they've given you all the love. And like, that reciprocity is the secret. Like, that is the point. And in that moment of this utter surrender, it was like, okay, it was like a light switch flipped back on and I was awake.
Welcome to Seacoast Stories, a weekly podcast where we interview the people and businesses of New Hampshire and Maine. I'm Troy Farkas. I've produced some of the most popular podcasts in the world. And since moving to the Seacoast in 2023, I've fallen in love with the area and its inspiring people. And now I'm on a mission to bring the Seacoast closer together, one podcast at a time. Today, part 2 of my conversation with 7-figure earning business coach, 4-time author, public speaker, podcast host, and proud UNH alum, Amber Lilyestrom. Last week, the 44-year-old mother of 2 told us about fun things, like her Division I soccer days, climbing the ranks of the UNH athletic department, and competing in fitness pageants, and also some very serious things, like her struggles with disordered eating, her near-death experience during childbirth, and the horrific sexual abuse she experienced as a child at the hands of a caretaker. On today's podcast, which is presented by our dear friends at LANEY and Lou, the mood is a bit lighter, and we'll discuss how she built her coaching empire in a time when business coaches hardly existed, the massive Ignite Your Soul events she used to throw on the Seacoast, whether she'll ever host them again, and why she's focused on building a right-sized business for her life. Plus, Amber struggles with infertility and the miracle that emerged from the depths of one of Amber's darkest moments. That's later, but for now, we pick up where we left off. So, at 31 years old, Amber is a new mother to a baby girl named Ani. She's just gone through a hellacious childbirth. She hasn't even started a business yet, but she does have a new outlook on life, and she's figuring out which direction to take her career. Let's talk about the new and improved Amber Lilyestrom that emerged from this experience. So you come out of this saying to yourself, I don't want to live this way anymore. I have to change. I'm now a mother. I've lived through this experience. There's got to be a different way. So when you sat down in front of the drawing board, what did you want to do to make a change?
Well, it was like all these things kind of came into my mind. So I was like thinking about the friends that I had met that worked in the fitness industry and like their model of business, and really like looking at the model that I was running of my career at the time. And okay, I'm getting promoted every 2 years, but like now this is bad math because I can't be away from my daughter, 50, 60 hours a week with nights and weekends and all this. Like I can't be running around with little baby Bjorn, with a walkie-talkie. Like that's not allowed, So I gotta make a decision about what I'm going to do. And so it was heartbreaking in a lot of ways because I really loved my job. I really loved my career. I loved what I was doing. But I knew that I couldn't be the version of myself that I wanted to be, specifically as a mom. And I don't think I understood this fully at the time of like who I wanted to become in my work, sitting in that chair. And remember one day I was in the hallway right outside my office, and I looked down the hall and I saw our athletic director, who's been one of my best mentors, Marty Scarano. And I saw him like shaking hands with, I think it was like a donor. He was having a donor meeting, and he was like, come on in my office. And I remember just thinking like, I don't want to sit in that chair. I don't want to do that. And then I was like, what are you doing then? Because this is the track that you're on to become a Division I athletic director, And I was grateful for that clarity. I was grateful for that moment of like, okay, so I need to do something different. So I'm on maternity leave. It's the first time literally in my entire life, right? Because you have to think, I'm a 10-year-old thinking college scholarship, need to be on the track, training, playing at the highest level, holding myself to that standard, having good grades. My parents were like, you guys can't play sports if you aren't on the honor roll. And I was always like, oh yeah, I'm going to be on the high honor roll. Like I was just that kid, held myself to insane standards. And I'm alone and I'm folding onesies and I'm trying to breastfeed and I was terrible at it. It didn't go well. We really needed a doula. P.S. Anybody who's listening to this, you need a doula. Okay. Just for the record, it's life-changing. Okay. And I start a photography business sort of on a whim, which is actually really cool considering my mom was a photographer. And I'm taking pictures of my cute baby and I'm realizing like, I'm pretty good at this. And so I just decide I'm going to start like a low-key photography, wedding, portrait photography business on the side, which when I think back on that, I'm like, it's kind of insane. But I did. I started Amber Lilyestrom Photography and I was like doing a little bit of this, like these sort of like family shoots, newborn shoots, like when I had spare time on the weekends when Ben was home. On my maternity leave. So I'm like starting this little side thing to just like test the waters of entrepreneurship and like see what I can do. And I'm having fun with it, but I'm like, this is also not a super viable financial model because it's still going to take me away from my kid. And that's like what I'm trying to not have happen right now is be away from her all the time. And I remember that I was having this phone conversation with my friend, a friend from high school, and I'm on the phone with her and I'm boo-hooing and I'm like, I have to go back to work. Like my maternity leave is over and I don't know what I want to do. And I'm distraught. And I remember this one sentence she said to me that honestly, it's like changed my life. And she said very succinctly, Amber, this is your life. Just like that. And like she put the emphasis on the word life. And it was like, I remembered in that moment, like my birth story and all these former versions of me that I've told you stories about that like couldn't really exist in this compartmentalized version of me that was required for the way that I was doing my career in this chapter. And like more and more of her was getting sort of like clamped off because it was just the nature of the work. When I was in my 20s and I had all the time in the world, it was the best job. It was the best thing, but like I was in a new chapter. And I went back to work. And I remember just sitting there feeling like an alien and being like, well, this doesn't feel like it used to feel. Like, what is wrong with me? I can't get into it the same. And I felt such split energy and I felt like I was torn. And then I started to feel bad because I was like not giving my full wildcat pride. Like I was like giving my whole self to it anymore. And being half-hearted in any way for me is just like, feels like death. Like I can't show up to something halfway. It's just not who I am. And so in the background, I did like a course online about launching a business. And I was just like learning all the time. I'm always observing. I'm always like sponging things up. And I realized at a certain point in the next sort of like winter, spring of 2014 that I think I'm going to have to like do a coaching business. And I think that I could probably help entrepreneurs. I can probably help business people. And I can take some of these things that I understand about human psychology and sales and marketing, and also the skills that I have. Because then I had hard skills of like graphic design and copywriting, copy editing, and I can like package this up and I can help people. And so I just start offering like free coaching on the weekends when I'm like not working to people in Facebook groups that are like related to this course that I was a part of, this network that I have. And I remember this one night I'm on a free call with this woman named Melissa, and I did this hour-long session for her. And at the end of it, she said, the advice that you've given me and the strategies that you've offered in this last hour have been more helpful than the $10,000 mastermind that I'm a part of. And I really want to hire you. And I remember just being like, what? And I was so awkward. I remember I said to her, I was like, okay, hold on. I had to like pull up my Word doc to see like what my prices were. Like I wasn't prepared that she was going to say that. I was just like so focused on doing a good job. And she hired me and she was my first client. And I realized like really quickly that, if I could have one client for a 3-month package, then maybe I could have 2. And then maybe if I had 2, then I could have 3. And then it was like really quickly, if I could have 4 to 5 clients, I can replace my monthly salary and I can work like tiny amount of hours compared to what is required of me right now. And so then I went to work like next day and I had like a really weird experience at work. And it was like totally the universe kicking my ass and being like, will you pay attention? Like how many more signs do I need to give you? And the next week I went in and I gave my notice with one client, like a total psycho. And I laugh about it now because I didn't tell my parents that story. I didn't tell them that. I just told them I was like quitting. I remember my mom saying, like, what are you can't do that. You've worked so hard. You got your master's.
You're on the track.
You're like, you got the name on the door, the 401k, the insurance, like you've literally done it. You achieved your dream. I was going to be the president of the National Association of Collegiate Sports Marketing Administrators. Say that one 3 times fast.
NACMA.
NACMA. Collegiate Marketing Administrators. Good job. I was on the track, like to be, it. And it wasn't it. And I was awake to that reality and I couldn't contradict myself. And so I gave my notice. My dad is so funny because he's like, I can't believe you literally quit your job of a decade with one client. I'm like, well, that's why I didn't tell you. But I did. And so I was there for another month training people. And by the time I left, I had 4 clients.
Wow.
Yeah.
How did UNH respond to it?
They were very supportive. Yeah, actually, I wanted this little wildcat statue to be here for us. They gave me that as a gift at what I call my retirement party. And I got to give a speech and like 70 people from campus and the department showed. It was really one of the most special days of my life. Truly. Wow. Yeah. It was a really big deal.
So they didn't think you were crazy. They were supportive. Parents thought you were crazy.
They were supportive. I definitely put the emphasis on the syllable of motherhood as the main reason why, which is true.
Yeah.
And I really wanted to create a different reality, for my family and for so many other people. I was like, I can't be her here anymore. I have to go fly and I have to go see what else I can do and create. Yeah.
So I should say this is about 2014-ish time. Business coaching, not really as mainstream as it is. So where did this idea come from?
Yeah. So I actually started myself as a brand coach. And so nobody knew what that meant. And I did this thing. Hold on, I'm going to show you. I called myself the brand love coach. And I would do this thing on camera.
She's making a heart for those who can't see.
Brand love coach. And it was like my signature thing. And it's so cheesy and I love her so much. And I was like the #1 Google result for brand coach for a long time.
Really?
Yeah.
In the States? In the country?
Yeah. In the world.
In the world.
If you typed in brand coach, wow. I was like right up there for a myriad of years. Yeah. Because nobody knew what that was. I was ahead of the time. I was ahead. And
shocker.
I was so focused on helping people blend who they are with the way that they were offering things in their business and really creating as much congruence as possible. And what I meant by that was not just, I didn't necessarily have the language for this at the time, but it was that felt experience of, when you're around somebody and they just ooze what they are and you just know it's believable. We have a million examples, the people you have on this podcast. It's they are who they are, and you just feel it and you can get on board with it. Well, that's really good for business. But there are a lot of people that would come to me. And in this example, that client, Melissa, came to me. And I remember I'm looking at her homepage on her website and she's telling me that she's a confidence coach. And the picture of her is her back to the camera and she's going like this. And I was like, babe, I don't know how to tell you this, but you literally have your back to the clients on your lead picture on the website. And she started dying laughing. She's like, oh my God, nobody's ever said that to me. I can't even believe it. I missed that completely. And I was like, I also think low key that you don't actually even want to do this work. And then she was like, oh, you're completely right. And it was I was uncovering subconscious beliefs that were showing in people's businesses and in their marketing and the way they were positioning themselves. And so that was the secret thing that I didn't realize that I had the ability to see, but I was doing that really early on. And was helping people with positioning their brands. And then I was also designing websites and helping them with their copy and stuff. So I'd be doing the coaching. I was developing my coaching skill, but also selling them on website design and concrete skills because I knew that they would easily value that. I wouldn't have to convince them of that.
Right.
They needed
something very
it.
Tangible. You can see it, feel it.
And because I knew them so well, I could really do it well. And so I rode that wave, and some clients were like, I have my own website, but I want you to just consult and coach me around this. Or help me develop my ideas, help me develop my offers and what I'm going to do. And I rode that wave and really did all that website stuff until 2017 when I finally released it and like stopped doing the website thing altogether. But I was developing the coaching skill to the level where I could release that and just go off the merit of being Amber Lilyestrom, this brand and business coach. Yeah.
And what kind of brands were you working with?
A lot of personal brands, which is also like was sort of before its time.
Right.
Like I was helping my dear friend Lauren Bodwell, is an amazing photographer on the Seacoast. She was like my personal photographer. And then I would bring her in to do brand shoots for people. And I would go and like help them with what kind of pictures we wanted. And I'd be like, okay, Lauren, we need header images. We need a couple portrait. Like we would be like, this was all before this was a thing, you know, like this really in 2014 was like right at the beginning of this, like having a photo shoot for yourself back then was kind of weird, you know? And now I think about it and I'm like, I always laugh about this. Like my kids going into the archives of my folders and being like, was mom like a model? Why does she have like 1,000 pictures of herself from all these brand photo shoots that I've done over the years? I think it's so funny to think about that. You know, it's like, I'm a business coach. Why do I have to have like a glamour photo shoot? I don't know. These are the things I think about. But back then, right, it was important. You need the photos on your website. You need your brand presence to match who you be, how you be, what the energy is. And that's the unspoken communication that's happening before a person even hears you speak. And so all of these little elements, I was just really masterful at bringing them together and helping people learn how to put their best foot forward while also doing all of the inner work coaching that's required to put yourself out there, because it's not easy to say, hey, I'm this, like, here's my shingle. Let me turn it out. I'm ready to go. It's triggering, you know, it brings all your stuff up. That's why I love entrepreneurship, because it's like a masterclass in consciousness and helping you evolve through your stuff.
That's why I hate it. Okay. So what were you finding fulfilling about this work early on?
It was the witnessing. It was when I look back on it. So there was this one thing I did in my photography business that I did not charge for. And I laugh about this now because I was like, oh, those were like brand shoots, but I didn't have the language for that yet. And I called them the lovely sessions. And what they were was I would take a woman and I would be like, can we go do a shoot just of you? And I would go pick a place you want to go. So I remember my friend Liza, I like bribed her to go at 5 a.m. to sunrise at Rye Beach. And we're like on the rocks. And see, these are my most favorite photos of her. And oh my gosh, she's so beautiful. And I remember I was there with her and I was like, just asking her questions. And I was like, putting her in scenes and having her remember moments and then like watching her face change as I was like, the moment your dad walked you down the aisle, you know, like just the first time you held Lucy in your hands and like her face would change, you know, and it was like this healing thing where so many women struggle to like look at themselves and have the ways that I did. And so I'm taking these pictures of them and then I would be like, look, it's you. And then it was like a beautiful photo that they couldn't deny was beautiful. And they would see themselves for maybe the first time. And that seeing piece, like getting to see and be seen, was really, really sacred to me. And so I realized later that it was the same thing, but I just wasn't doing it with a camera. I was doing it in my coaching work. And I mean, obviously major fast forward to now, but like all along, it has always been about witnessing people and witnessing them for exactly who they are and how they are and why they are the way they are, and acknowledging that and really like holding space for that. You do this beautifully. You know, you do this really well. And I think that's how we heal. You know, we have to shine a light on all of these different versions of ourselves. And I was just thinking, we just took that little break, that I didn't have a moment from the first part of our conversation where I went back on it being worried about somebody hearing anything that I said. And I thought, wow, that's really good. That's growth.
In the past, you would have been worried.
Oh yeah. I would have thought back over, I didn't say that quite the way that they would want me to say it. And it would be about them. And, you know, I've worked a lot on that. And I love the way that the compounding effect of our inner work changes us on a cellular level. And really, if you really look at it, it's like a DNA gene mutation. Like it changes us, like become different. There's 7-year cycles. I mean, there's so many different pieces of science and technology we can speak to about why this work is so important and why being witness is so important and why, you know, all these cultures, would have people tell their stories and would witness each other in story. Seacoast Stories. And so that's really, to me, what business and branding is about. It's about taking a gift that you have and bringing it forward like this generous, beautiful offering that you're giving to other people that helps them in some way. And then we get to share in the gift of that. And it has this ripple effect that is just infinite and beautiful. And I mean, being able to help more people get in and on their purpose and on the work they really want to do here in this lifetime, I think changes the course of history. I think it changes communities. I think it changes humanity.
What does it feel like to know that you can be a person for someone else, to witness them? Because in today's day and age, very few people are good at that.
I mean, I think just like everything I've said, it's like waking up in the morning and having a sip of lemon water. It's like my normal way of living. You know, it's like being an Amber. Like that's what I'm supposed to do. It's not like something coming from me. It's like coming through me. And I think I've sort of graduated blessedly in my life curriculum at this. And I think this has been sort of newish in the last like maybe 2 or so years, where I really understand now the significance of that calling that's in me, and how it's almost like I didn't choose it, it chose me. Like I don't feel this sense. It's like when I think about my favorite writer, Mark Nepo, he's like, I don't know why I have the gift of this, but all I know is that this is the way that I touch life. This is the way that I'm intimate with life. And so I just honor it. And I feel like that's the same thing for me. It's like, I don't know why I love people so much and I see people so clearly. I don't know.
Yeah. You can't explain
what
qualities you have that make you able to do this. You just do it.
I just do it.
And it's second nature to you.
Yes. And so I feel just so grateful that I know that at this moment, and that I get to activate it and I get to use it. I mean, that's it. You know, I feel like I get to enjoy it in a way that 10 years ago, I didn't know how to, because I was still like trying to like make it, you know, I was still trying to prove to myself that that was true. And now it's just sort of like, yeah.
To be a basic white guy and to pull from one of my favorite books and one of the greatest books ever written. I mean, it was written in the 1930s, I believe. So it still, holds up. How to Win Friends and Influence People by Dale Carnegie. I read that 3 years ago, let's say. And the big overarching takeaway for me from that book was all people want in this life is to feel important. And here's the 5 things that you can do to make someone else feel important.
Yeah.
And I think I've internalized that so much. And when I think about who I am on air, off air, I think that's kind of the thing that I do that I can't necessarily explain. I think that's why people are drawn to me and share things with me on air or off air, because there's something I'm doing that makes people feel I can talk to this person. I can trust this person. And so it sounds like you have a lot of those same qualities as well, which I totally know what you mean when you say just how good it feels to be able to be that for someone, because we all need those people, and to be able to be those people for other people is really cool.
It's really cool. It's really cool. And people are awesome. And I think people are so much more awesome than they realize. And I think because I lived a lot of years not really knowing that about myself, I feel like that's sort of like the assignment, it's like, okay, now that you got this, can you please share it? Like throw it around like confetti? Because the idea that any of you beloveds that are listening to this right now are, sitting there feeling like some part of you is wrong or flawed. It's just like, it breaks my heart. It's like, I think motherhood obviously is like really, it's really changed me in the most beautiful way. But like, I just want to like hold your little face in my hands and be like, come on, you are amazing.
Yeah.
There's only one of you.
This is your life.
The percentage of possibility of you existing is so unbelievably minute that can't be a mistake. And, there's a line in Paddle in this poem called Golden Possibility. It's like, you were a dream long before you like existed. Like, I think about my ancestors. I think about my grandfather coming here on a boat from Germany. I think about this ring that I wear whenever I speak or I teach is from my great grandmother. And I think about how I know they dreamt of me. I didn't get to meet my great grandmother, but I know that she had to have thought about her ancestors in some way. Like that humbles me, to think of that, and to think that I lived a lot of years feeling like maybe that wasn't true or that I didn't matter. It's just like, it cracks me open. And I'm a mother. And so I have this sacred responsibility to do my part to ensure that my children never feel that way because of anything that I have done. They're going to have their own experience in the world, and I can't protect them from everything, but I can teach them about their relationship with themselves and how holy and sacred that is. And I mean, my kids are trained in terms of like the things I always say to my son, like, do you know what you're made of? And he goes, magic. And he says that unequivocally every single time. And I'm like, exactly. Like, don't forget it. And then with my daughter, she'll be in the backseat and we'll just be driving and bopping along to something. And I'll say, Ani, do you know who's responsible for how mommy feels? And she's like, you? Like, yep. Just wanted to make sure you remember that. And I said, do you know who your life belongs to? She said, me. I said, that's right. No matter what I say or do, remember, that's the truth. And I want you to know that. And I say, because I didn't know that. I didn't know that my life belonged to me. I didn't know that. I learned that like in my 30s. For real. And so I really want to make sure you got that. And so I say these things to my kids constantly that they're like, okay, mom, I'm made of magic, but I know that that's the story they're going to tell.
Coming up, how Amber's coaching business explodes on the Seacoast and the middle of the night trip that leads her to everything she's ever wanted. That's next. But first, we close out Women's History Month by celebrating one of my favorite woman-owned businesses, LANEY & Lou in Portsmouth. It's my go-to for business meetings, random run-ins with past podcast guests and yoga friends, and it's also a great place to get introduced to new people. But when I just want to edit the podcast without socializing, they can accommodate that too. The lighting is perfect, the Wi-Fi is reliable, and there's outlets everywhere. As great as that is, the real star of the show is the food and drink. Lately, I've been obsessed with their epic egg sandwiches. Sourdough, pesto, eggs, avocado, tomatoes. Honestly, just thinking about it makes me hungry. In the afternoon, I can't resist the Iron Woman smoothie or an acai bowl. And when I'm craving something really sweet, the superfood donuts or the almond butter dates, they are next level. You have to try them. They're perfect for those of us who need to keep our blood sugar levels in check. If you know, you know. At LANEY & Lou, they're all about real food, nourishing the soul, and bringing people together. They prioritize local and organic ingredients whenever they can. Plus, they're now serving sustainably raised chicken and salmon. That's big time. Their catering program, that's also expanding with options from sister brands Ginger Fox and Palates available. And their spring menu drops this Thursday, and you can bet you will see me there scoping it out. So head on over there. It's in the West End of Portsmouth. Parking is plentiful. They're open 7 days a week. The patio is going to be opening soon. Plus, online ordering makes it all so easy. It almost feels too good to be true at LANEY & Lou. Our Women's History Month coverage is also brought to you by an organization that knows a thing or two about celebrating the girlies. I'm of course referring to none other than the Girl Scouts of the Green and White Mountains. They serve girls all across New Hampshire and Vermont. And as part of the larger Girl Scouts of the USA program, they're connected to the world's largest girl-led leadership program. The mission? Helping girls grow into young women with courage, confidence, and character. The kind of people who don't just talk about change, but actually make it happen. Their research shows Girl Scouts are more likely to build a strong sense of self, develop positive values, take on challenges, learn from setbacks, form healthy relationships, and sharpen real problem-solving skills. They also tend to excel in school and go on to graduate from high school and college at higher rates. And here's something wild. Girl Scouts are a major force in the female leadership pipeline. More than half of women business leaders, 80% of female tech leaders, 76% of female U.S. senators, and every female U.S. Secretary of State started out as Girl Scouts. So if you've got a girl in your life, or know a family who does, this is absolutely worth a look. There are many ways to get involved locally too, joining a troop, heading to summer camp, traveling, or even participating virtually. Your girl's next best friends are waiting to meet her. She can kick off her Girl Scout adventure by visiting girlscoutsgwm.org. So you said 2017, you started dropping the website stuff and just focusing on the nitty gritty business coaching. So take me into the next phase of the evolution of your coaching business and what you were doing. And you started doing some events locally and really putting yourself out there as well, right?
Yeah. 2017 was a big year. I had the courage to host the first event. It was called the Ignite Your Soul Summit, and it was at 3S. And I just had this vision in my head of like, okay, 100 people, let's just do it. And I was really into Tony Robbins at the time. I had gone actually with Jennifer Wilder.
Shout out.
Went to Date with Destiny and to whatever the other one was called. I forget. But his amazing events, we had gone to 2 of them in that year together. And we were just super lit and we were both doing things, making moves. And she was launching LANEY and Lou, and I was going to host this event. And Jen actually spoke at the event. It was really, really meaningful. And she really was like a huge supporter of the mission of what I was doing in my work. And we had 97 people buy tickets to come to this event at 3S. And it was like the greatest day of my life. Like we did it, it was like the music, the movement. It was so deeply emotional. It was everything that I wanted it to be. And I knew I was like, we're going to do it again. We're going to do it again in 2018. And so I'd had that success at that event. And then afterwards I was like, okay, what am I doing? Like how I feel like this business needs to pop off a little bit, but I'm like, not sure what direction I'm going. And so I joined a mastermind and I was working with, I don't know if you know this guy, Lewis Howes.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So I was working with Lewis. Oh yeah. Podcasting. Right.
I know a little bit too much about Lewis.
Yeah.
Go on.
So anyway, I'm in his mastermind. This is 2017. And he says to me on a call, he's like, what do you want more than anything? I was like, I want to retire Ben from his police career. And I want him to be home and stop missing the moments he doesn't get a replay on with our daughter and like be more together than we're apart. And that's what I want. And he was like, okay, so why don't we set a date for July 1st? No, it's like May 30th. I'm like, and mind you, it wasn't like I was trying to like retire my husband. He wanted to get out of police work. He had tried to become a firefighter. There were no job openings. He went through everything. So not only was he a police officer, he was also trained as a firefighter and an EMT. And he just couldn't get a job to switch in the agency. And that was also the universe's way of being like, don't.
That's shocking to me.
Yeah, I know. Back then, though, it was a different time.
Yeah, okay.
It was a different time.
It's always a different time.
Always a different time. I know. I'm aging myself so much here, but it's true. It really was. I mean, time has been wild for the last decade.
Yeah, COVID accelerated.
I mean, really.
Yeah.
And I remember just looking at him like, you're insane. I don't know how we would do that financially. Like, I don't know. I am petrified of that challenge, but let me walk with it. Like, okay, when somebody throws down a challenge for me, I have a hard time backing away from it. So I'm like, all right. And so I decide I'm going to launch a mastermind. And again, 2017, there weren't a lot of masterminds. It was kind of OG vibes. And so I launched my first mastermind.
And a mastermind is just a big group of people.
It's like a coaching program that has one-to-one coaching in it and like in-person events and group connection. But it's like curated and it's like a bit of a smaller group. It's not like 50 people. It was like, 15 or something like this. So it's like a concentrated group of like specific types of women with different types of businesses, mostly coaches, people who are working one-to-one with people in different capacities.
Okay.
Health coaches, different things like this. So anyway, launch this program, have enormous success.
In person, virtual?
Virtual, because they're from all over, but we have in-person retreats.
Okay.
So I hosted the first retreat in Portsmouth and enormous success. Like, holy moly. Okay. I guess we're doing this. And so Ben gives his notice. His last day is July 6, 2017 at Dover PD after an 11-year career. He comes home and he's with Ani. He is also like starting podcast production and like just being, he's like amazing, does all the things, right? And it gives me time to now like step into the business more because all of that time I was with Ani full time at home, did not have childcare. On purpose, like wanted to be there, was doing like the nap time hustle for all of those years, building this business up to this point and have no regrets, like so grateful for that. It was exactly what I wanted. And then we retired Ben. And so now it's like, okay, this thing is like starting to go big. And then we host the next Ignite Your Soul Summit at 3S. Now there are 200 people and we, the size of that space. So it is like probably like a fire code violation. I don't know. There were so many people in that room. People are dancing. It was wild. We had
all women.
all women, but we had a couple men. I always say a few good men in the crowd, but mostly women. It's a 2-day event this time. It was bananas. It was amazing. And then it sparks the big dream, which was I wanted to host this thing at the music hall. I had seen Brandi Carlile play there. I love Brandi so much. I had seen artists play at the music hall. I'm like, I want to play the music hall. And so we wrap that event and I have the courage and I go over there and I do a walkthrough and I put the deposit down. I'm like, we're going to do it. And my goal was I want to fill the bottom. I'm not going to try to fill the whole thing. I don't know how I'm going to be able to do that, but we did it. We filled the bottom 2019. We had like 500 people there that flew in from all over North America. And we hosted the Ignite Your Soul Summit 2-day event at the music hall. And it was unbelievable. It was a day I'll never forget. That weekend was like, I'll never forget it.
Wow.
It was so cool. And what happened in that room, just like the transformations and the experiences that people had and the work that they did with themselves. And people still tell me stories to this day of like that event, it changed my life, and yeah, that was 2019, and so the business was just like doing really amazing work at this point. And I was doing all the things, podcasting all over. I was like really living what I wanted to be living. I was doing the work I wanted to be doing. And to be completely candid, like it's just, I only continue to just refine that more. I've been really focused on, especially like after the pandemic and then, we can get into the next part of the story with my infertility journey and all of that. I've always wanted to have a right size business for the life that I'm living. I'm not trying to build like the biggest business. It's not, yes, it is about money in terms of dollar amounts and what I want to make, but it's all calibrated to like what the needs actually are and the life I want to be living, because there is a cost, and also the type of work I do with people is really intimate. And I'm not trying to scale to have this coaching roster of like 1 million people. I'm not. I've never done that. I've always kept a 15-hour-ish a week work week. And I've had deep, intimate, most of my clients. I have people who've been with me 4, 5, 6, 7 years, that are continuing in the work that we're growing in together. And so I think like I've done a good job of being able to always remember to keep the main thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm really glad you said that. I think that's a really important distinction to make. A lot of entrepreneurs, business owners listen here.
Yeah.
Because I think the American way is if you have the chance to do it bigger, do it better, and just keep growing. But I think takes so much self-awareness and discipline just to take a look and be like, you know what? I'm good with this right now. This is the life I want to have. I don't need to go bigger just for the sake of going bigger, because to your point, there's a cost to going bigger. Yeah. And then even if you go bigger and you have all the money in the world and blah, 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 like you still might not be happy. There's a lot of rich, miserable people out there.
But I also was noticing in the entrepreneurial world, I'd sit in circle at a friend mastermind group and they'd be like losing their minds about their launch and how it like wasn't going well. And they were so stressed out. And I was like, that's not good math. Or, these one-to-many programs where you needed to have all of these people and then what their default rates were and all. And I'd have companies reach out to me and be like, we can help you with chasing down default payments. And I was like, I don't have any. There's nobody to chase down. I'm not an ideal client for you. That's not my business model. And so I've always been really clear on A, who I am, and B, what I'm meant to be doing and how I'm meant to be doing it. And I activate that in my business. And I'm really good at like kind of getting out the bullshit meter with people and being like, wait, why do you want that though? Like for real, I'm cool. Like if you want to be a cajillionaire, fine. Like go get it. Like love it, babe. But I need you to tell me why. And so like, let's actually talk about it, because you only live one time in this body, in this go round. My kids are 3 and 12. My husband and I say to each other all the time, 3 and 12, 3 and 12. Like, I don't get it back. I'm not trading it in for what? A best-selling book? For what? A couple $100,000 more dollars? No, that's not what my life is about. And I feel really grateful to know that, and to also have been able to create, of course, what we've been able to create. But I don't get confused in that. It's like I keep myself focused on like, what is the point? And how do I stay as close to the point as possible? Because then I get to experience more life. I get to like experience the fullness of it more, where I'm not like putting myself into these things that take me away from from my life.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
After your 2019 Ignite event at the Music Hall, you booked it to happen again in 2020, and I'm sure to do it bigger and better than the previous one. Obviously, that does not happen because of the pandemic. And then you really pulled the reins back entirely from doing in-person events on the Seacoast.
Yeah.
Why?
Well, I think I was acutely aware of the reality that people were really afraid of being in person. And I was like, that's not good math, business-wise, right? It was like, I also don't want the energy of that. I don't want people to come to something and feel scared. So, and I certainly at an event where I have people like hugging each other and like holding hands and stuff, being like, sorry, you have to sit 5 feet apart. That wasn't on brand. You know, I was like, that's not the experience I'm trying to create here. So I was doing everything virtually, but also simultaneously, one other thing was happening in 2019 that was like sort of behind the surface. And it was after the event. It was in the summertime. And I had gone to go see my reproductive endocrinologist again. And I was like, hey, so like we've been trying to get pregnant and we haven't been able to. And at this point, you know, naturally. Okay. Yeah. Like we've been trying and it's not happening. And they had said like, you know, you had a baby, like you were successful, like you could probably conceive. And so I go and I get all my levels and everything checked. And they're like, you're not a candidate for IVF. And I feel like the entire world just got pulled out from under me because that was like what I was counting on was I'm going to be able, like, we can try. And then I'm going to go in and we'll do IVF. And they're like, no, you're not. And I'm like, what do you mean? And so here again, I'm like, my body's failing me. Like my body is like taking away from me what my dreams are, you know, like it did with my soccer career with my knee. And like, I've had to like make the best of these things. Right. And now this feels like really devastating. And I had gone through like some really difficult friend things in that year after my event. It was just like a tumultuous time in that part of the year. And I decided, I was like, okay, I'm going to start going to see my naturopath and I'm going to commit to like changing some of these numbers and do what I can do to control it. And we'll see what happens. And I did. And then I went back at the end, like late 2020, and they were like, okay, you actually did improve it. And so I started IVF at the start of 2021, my first cycle. And it was like, you know, my numbers weren't great. And I knew it was a pretty tiny chance at this point. And there was a lot to grapple with in that of like, wow, okay, I am 39 and I just thought it was going to be different. Like I thought that I would have multiple children. Like I thought I'd be able to do this. Like I didn't see this movie playing out this way. And the first cycle failed. And then we tried again and I got pregnant on the second cycle. And I was like, obviously overjoyed. I frankly couldn't believe it. And I was sitting there, doing the final edits of Paddle Home, my first poetry book. And I was so proud of this book. And I felt this moment, Troy, honestly, of like, this was the book 5-year-old me dreamt of writing. And so I'm like getting ready to hold this thing in my hands. And now I have a positive pregnancy test. And I'm like, how could this be? It was almost like life was like fire hosing me with like the greatest possible thing I could imagine. And I am like on top of the world. But there was also a part of me was like, I can't even believe this is real. Like I couldn't receive it. And we went to go get a scan, you know, like, I don't know, maybe a week or so later, and they don't find a heartbeat. And I don't know, I'm just like numb, you know, I'm just like numb. And they're like, you have to go to Boston and you have to go get an ultrasound. And like, this could be an ectopic pregnancy, you know, blah, blah, blah. So I can't even believe it. I drove alone. I drove myself by myself because I didn't want my daughter to be without her parents on the day she was expecting us to come back and like show her a picture of her baby brother or sister. And I was like, Ben, you have to go pick her up from school. Like you can't have grandpa pick her up. And I drove myself and I think back to that and I'm like, man, you still have work to do. Like you didn't let people help you, you know? And I'm there and it was awful. You know, I won't even tell that story. It just was awful. And I come home and I'm like in this grief. And now I'm hosting the virtual Ignite Your Soul Summit. I have 300 copies of my dream book that I have to sign, and I'm literally losing the pregnancy. And that is like how that went. People didn't know that part of the story. That was what was happening. And it was so bittersweet and it was so painful. And I remember it just like kind of made me sort of like slow everything down. Though I will say, that my work was this huge blessing through it all, because I could escape from what was feeling like this most painful thing in my life, and then like come and talk to you, or talk to a client and be with them and just be in their world and help them. And then I would like go back. And I remember there's this one morning, it was like maybe a month or a little over a month after the loss. It's like 5 a.m. and I'm just sitting downstairs on my phone and I'm scrolling. And then I come across this adoption agency or consultancy that like an influencer or somebody had worked with. And so I just like started kind of clicking around as we do, like all the links, and I start watching things. And I waited till Ben woke up and I was like, I think we should maybe just schedule a call. I think it's important to say, like, this is such a sensitive topic. I'm really, sensitive about talking about it here because it's for everybody, that's listening to this that has gone through infertility and pregnancy loss. It's really real. And I knew that my fertility was over. That was the hardest part of it all. It was like, I really wanted to be pregnant again. Like I wanted to have a chance to do that again. And then it was also like so humbling because I had had the chance to have my daughter, and it's almost like I didn't even know how good it was, because I was so young and I just didn't know. And I had to really forgive myself for that. I had to do a lot of healing work on like the divine timing of all those things, even though I wanted it to be different at the time, and so I had to sit with the grief of like that ending happening. Couldn't bypass that. And it was really hard. And so I remember I filled out this form and Ben was like, well, let's schedule a call. And so I scheduled the call and spoke to this beautiful woman named Brittany. And I remember I was just sort of like, okay, I don't know. It was like so many things we were going to have to do, home studies and fingerprinting and background checks and all these things. And I was like, wow, this is a lot. Physicals. And it's like, I'm just going to take one little step at a time and we'll just see. And like, the beautiful thing with it was like, it's just going to be sort of a stepped process. And so that was in like May-ish of that year, 2021. And we wouldn't be fully like through our whole approval process through the adoption consultancy until the end of 2021. So we just like took our time with it. But all along we had been reading cases of babies that were due or were born or whatever. And we got to really like open our hearts to the idea of adoption and really like start to understand it. And it just like, it changed my heart, seeing these stories of these birth moms and these impossible decisions they were having to make and their circumstances and all of these things. Like, it just changed me, and we really learned a lot about ourselves and each other through that whole process. And it was a really beautiful thing. And so, I mean, and again, my business is just like, I had built it in a way so it was just very steady in the background, through everything, even the pandemic. It was just like continuing to chop wood, carry water, take care of people. I wasn't doing live events except for my in-person retreats. I was doing my Elevate mastermind retreats because the mastermind from 2017 has been in existence to this day. And I even laugh because I'm like, oh my God, we hosted a retreat like in person in 2020. Like secret. We actually had one at the start of the year it was in March of 2020 in San Diego. And I remember we were on the plane flying out there being like, masks. Oh my God, we're never doing that.
Yeah.
They're such idiots, And then the end of the year, I like had a covert, like hidden retreat at my house. And it was like, come at your own risk and sign a waiver. Yeah. And we still did it.
Oh my gosh. I remember I always look at March 11th, 2020 as the day that everything shut down. I recorded a podcast at ESPN earlier that day with some famous UFC fighters. And we were talking off camera about the coronavirus.
Yes.
And the fighter looks at me. He's like, if you put the coronavirus in a cup right now, I would drink it.
Oh my God. Oh my.
That night the NBA shuts down.
Yikes. Yeah.
Good times.
Yeah. So that was all happening in the background too, right? It's like, This was all, and 2021 was not a walk in the park. I think we sometimes forget about that, but that's part of the reason why I wasn't hosting anything in person, like on a larger scale. For my smaller group, they were okay with it. And it was like, everybody was kosher about it. But so 2021 ends and it's the start of 2022. So I said to Ben, we just have to say yes, which I feel like that is such an important message for everybody listening to this. There's like this thing that I learned in this process that like, yes unlocks how. And I think we live so often in this trap of, but I don't know how. And like, we're waiting for the how, but the how doesn't unfold until you say yes. you have to say yes to the thing so that it can come next. Right. And so I said to Ben, we just have to start saying yes. And we started saying yes to like every case, and it was like, we're not going to try to control this. The baby that is meant to be our child is going to come. And it was a really liberating moment to do that. And we were in Florida on retreat. I was hosting down there, my favorite place on 30A. And I had this knowing yet again, I'm with the women. I burned the story of infertility. I was like retiring it. We were doing all this incredible transformational work. And my family and I get home. We stayed for like a week after for a vacation. We fly home on a Saturday. And then the next day, March 13th, 2022, I go to the grocery store. I get all the groceries. We're like back home and I get a case in my inbox. And then the consultant texted me and she said, you need to check your inbox right away. I was like, okay. So I read the case and it's called a stork drop, which means that there was a baby that was born and he was in Florida. It's hard for me to talk about it without crying. And she was like, you have to go look. And I looked and it was like the birth mom wanted a mom that looked similar to her. It was really important to her. And she was like, I think you look like the birth mom, so you should review this. And I did. And I read this to her and I was just like, and I looked at Ben and like, I think this is our baby. I think this is our son. And so I wrote a letter to her. And the thing that was just like so unbelievable was that she named the baby Alexander. And a lot of times the birth moms don't name the babies, but it was really important to her that she named this baby Alexander. And Alexander was the only boy name that we had when we had Ani. It was our boy. And so I wrote this letter, like, and the next day, like, I knew it. Like, I knew it. I just knew it. I knew it was him. And they called us that afternoon. And then they said the birth parents wanted to talk to us. And we talked to them. And it was just like so beautiful and bittersweet and hard and amazing, like all at once, right? Because I'm a mother and like, I understand what she's going through. She just had this baby and now she's like going to be giving her baby away. And my heart is just like growing 1 million times itself and also cracking open all at once. It's like everything. And the consultants are like, you have to get down here. You have to get to Florida. And so I said to Ben, he's like, I'm going to book the flight. And I just said like, now, like immediately, like I will literally run there if I have to. Like, I just wanted her to know that like, I was there. Like we were there. I didn't want her for a second to think that this baby was not going to be like held. And I wanted him to know how held he was, like from the second, like there was not a minute that he was not in the hands of people that loved him. And we got there, we left our house at 1 a.m. I called my best friend and I was like, Liza, bring me everything you have that is like baby stuff. I was like, we literally are going and all of our friends and family were just like, okay. And she came over at 8 p.m. and brought like diapers and all these things. And we just threw everything in the bags and we left with our empty car seat. And we got there and 24 hours after that phone call, I was holding him in my arms and he was our son, Alexander. And he spent his first night in a suitcase in the hotel room. So we didn't have anything for him. We put a little, like, I was like, you know what? Babies used to go in drawers. So this is where he slept his first night. And then I got to go with Ani the next day to the baby store and have like the greatest moment of my life because I had spent so many years boohooing in the Target baby aisle, like wishing that I could have had a baby, all those years, and like got to get him everything. And it was so amazing. It was so miraculous. Just like couldn't have ever imagined during all those years of loss and heartache and all that it would end up being him in that way.
What did that feel like to see him?
Oh, I mean, everything. It was just like, again, like I've known you all my life. And also just, I don't know, it's like this other sense of responsibility too, because of that, the vow, that I made to his birth parents, that like till the day I die, and beyond.
What did you write in that first letter?
Just acknowledgement of the complexity of like what she was navigating with. And then also just how important it was to us, to welcome this child into our home, to give him literally everything that we possibly could give of ourselves, and like what our family was like, and what our values were about, like what we were about. And just the truth, just the truth. And then I got to tell her the story about his name and just like how incredibly synchronistic that was. And later when we met her, the social worker said, we were like boohooing together about like we couldn't believe it. I'm like, couldn't have written that if I tried, It's one boy name that we've ever had, and it was Alexander.
Do you remember the first time Ani met her brother?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was post-COVID time still. So it was a little tricky. We all had to wear masks and stuff. And she was so excited. She wore this t-shirt on the plane down, said best big sister. She was so excited. And in the days after, she would read him stories and give him milk and wanted to push the stroller and just, and it was also important to us always as parents, like never want Ani for a second to feel like she has to like be parental to her brother in any way. Like her identity and his identity are like, they're their own individual people, but their relationship's really important. So we've always fostered that with them of like, you guys are each other's like longest best friends. Like you're going to be with each other longer than anybody. And so it's really important that we take care of that relationship and that bond. And we started that communication really early with them. And of course they squabble, they're brother and sister, but I think they get that, on a really deep level.
Coming up, why Amber has walked away from hosting big events on the Seacoast and her atypical life philosophy. That's next, but first, Amber is a tea drinker. I know this because we've sipped hot beverages together at the Treehouse multiple times by this point. Humble brag, no big deal. She's a tea lover, and I know she's all about a New Hampshire woman-owned business like 27 Teas. For the past 8 years, 27 Teas has been hand-blending teas with one clear goal: to change the way New England drinks tea. Founder Margaret Gay, a lifelong tea lover, used to walk into cafes, see 10 different ways to order coffee, and then one lonely, sad tea bag just sitting there. She knew tea drinkers deserve better, so she built 27 Teas. They focus on premium loose-leaf tea and plastic-free, plant-based, biodegradable sachets. Every blend is handmade in small batches in Manchester. Their packaging makes brewing easy, with clear steep times and temperatures, so anyone can make a perfect cup using their bold, fun, flavor-packed blends, even the most loyal coffee drinkers. Honestly, that sounds pretty great to me. I'm on a new health kick, and part of that is starting to cut back on caffeine, but not on the community part that comes from sitting across from someone over a hot beverage. I can't possibly give that up. And that's exactly why a mission like 27 Teas just feels like a perfect fit. It's only a matter of time before I become a tea person, and you can too by visiting 27teas.com. Use the promo code STORIES at checkout for 15% off your online or in-person order. The offer runs for the next few weeks, so if you want high-quality tea from a woman-owned New Hampshire business, now's the time to cash in. Again, that's 27teas.com, promo code STORIES at checkout. This may be a strange question, but Ani, you gave birth to. Alex, you did not. Does it feel any differently for you when you look at them?
No, not at all. Yeah, I know. It's not a weird question. People ask that question. No, I just think if you look at the bigger picture of like synchronicity of how people come into our lives, I really believe in the magic and the mystery of that. And so it's just so incredible to me to think about like, this is how Ani came in. This is how Alex came in, and like each, and I think the thing about adoption that is so incredible, is that every single step of the way he has been chosen. Right. So like his birth mom chose him to have the pregnancy, to birth him. Right. She chose him. And then she went through the impossible task, right, of then having to sit down and look at books of families and then chose us who were choosing him, right? So it's like his whole life, that's the story. It's like you've only been loved. Like there's never been a second that you weren't adored.
As you said, he's 3 years old. Have you thought about if when you tell him he's adopted?
Yeah, of course. I mean, he has to know his story.
Yeah.
You know, he has to know his own story and be able to shape it in the way that is his way, you know. And obviously we're not really there yet, you know, in the way of how we would communicate that piece, but we will, you know, and I think there's a lot of language around, you know, being chosen, and everyone comes into the world in their own unique ways, and it's different for people. So it's almost like telling other people's stories to normalize that, honestly. Yeah. To normalize it, because families all look so different. You know, there isn't just one way that a family comes to be. And yeah. So it'll be something we all grow in together as he continues to get older. Yeah.
I don't know how this works. Is his birth mother, birth parents, are they allowed to meet him?
If they want to, but I think just different chapters.
Yeah.
Yeah. Different chapters of life that they're in. But I do upload, there's an app that we have, and I upload photos every month of him, and I have since he was born. So yeah.
Do you have the suitcase photo? Is there a photo? Okay. I need to see that photo.
Yeah, of course. Yeah. And you know, I don't know how much his birth mom looks in there, but they're there. So she can see them anytime that she would want to. And that's an important commitment for me.
12 and 3.
12 and 3.
When you're enjoying a morning here, watching Ben play with your 2 kids, knowing everything you had to do to get Ben into this house, this specific house that you set your sights on a long time ago, knowing what you had to do to bring Ani into this world, knowing what you had to do to bring Alex into this home. When you take a step back and consider just how everything has played out, what goes through your mind when you're watching a morning like that unfold?
That's the whole point. You know, it's nothing that I've ever dreamt or wanted to create was just for me. It's always been about them. It's always been about the people that I love. You know, I built the treehouse because I wanted people to be able to come here and have memories, you know, and to host things and have people come into the space and gather and share their ideas. You know, it's like this, my friend Kate Northrup said this thing to me years ago that I'll never forget. And she said, you know, I'm so damn proud of you. Your ideas built that house. And I just want every person who's ever created something just to take that in for a second. Like, look at the world around you. Your ideas, your courage created the world that you're living in right now. That's a really big deal. And so I'm humbled by that. Again, you know, I'm moved by that. And I'm also like, wow, we can do this. We can create miracles. We can create new worlds. We can change the course of history together. We have to have the courage to go do that. And so this space specifically, and then, you know, on the lake, and we always host an Elevate retreat here in the summertime. So we are up here and we go down on the lake and play and do all the fun stuff. And I love sharing it. That's the point. You know, it's not just for me. And yeah, it is for me too. Of course. Like that would be weird if I didn't let myself really fully receive that. Right. I'm not like trying to be, you know, whatever, but I love sharing with people. You know, I love getting to witness people be in their joy. And yeah, that's the main thing.
Do you want to have in-person events on the Seacoast again?
I don't know. I have hosted multiple like 40 to 50 person retreats called the Ignite Your Business retreats after. So like 2022, I think I did 2. I think I did 2 in 2022, 2023, and 1. Oh no, I don't know. I can't keep track. I hosted my last one in May of 2025. And I said at that event that this is my last Ignite series event. And I like put a pin in that. And one of the reasons why was because I had this moment where I was standing on stage and I was looking out at everybody and I just thought, I don't really want to be separate like this. Like, I really want to just like be with you like this. I want you to come sit on the couch and do a VIP day. I want you to come in here and be in a small group and like, let's work on your thing and do witness work. I don't need all this like pomp and circumstance stuff, you know? I don't need it. Do I enjoy speaking? And yeah, I went and did a bunch of speaking last year. People invite me. My clients ask me to come speak. I love speaking and facilitating and coming in a room and bringing people through experiences. I really love it and I'm good at it. But I feel like the cost of putting on the event energetically, emotionally, all of that, it takes me away from the main thing right now, which is 3 and 12 and witness work with my clients. And I don't think that that's the investment I want to make in this moment in time.
Again, I applaud you for that because the ego would say, get me in front of people, get me more potential clients by being out and about. So let me make an impact in these rooms because that was the track that you were on.
Yeah. And so, I've done it. I've done that. That's not my model right now. You know, my model is depth work with people. It's like the established entrepreneur who's like, this isn't really working and I need to figure out how to get this thing working again. You know, like I'm really the person that people come to pretty like quietly, to be honest. Because the work that we do is super, super intimate and real, you know, and it's like we put the whole thing out on the table and we reimagine and we reorganize and we reprioritize and we work on all of the systems, including the life system. You know, it's like a whole picture business approach. And so, yeah, I mean, that's how I'm being used, quote unquote, right now. You know, that's like how my gift is being activated. I do have my Homeward program, which is, you know, low cost. It has the ability to scale. And I teach in there weekly. And I love that community. And I think of a few different women on the Seacoast that, you know, have been part of that community and have built incredible businesses and have done amazing things. And I'm so proud of them. And, you know, so that I have that, but the deeper work, you know, it's not tens and tens of people. And I really love that.
And you have a new book, as we've referenced a few times, Little Big Beautiful Things. I want to read another passage from it that really spoke to me. And I think you know which one it's going to be. And you said this word in this conversation before. Cajillionaire. Do you want to read this?
You can do it.
Okay,
I love
great.
it. It's fun.
Yeah, you've done a lot of talking. Cajillionaire. My 80-year-old self sits by the window with a cat I do not know yet in her lap. She looks at the same trees I danced around with my children when they were small, the same trees that have grown and dropped 1 million leaves since. She sips from the mug her best friend gave her, the one with the ridges and the faded red and orange paint. She covers herself in the blankets her son gave her on her 44th birthday, softer now than the day his 3-year-old hands proudly unwrapped it for her. Isn't it a wonder that the most valuable things we own don't land on a spreadsheet? Isn't it a magical thing to know that our days are plated in gold? The moment we awaken to this enduring truth, we become instantly richer than we've ever known. Want to be a cajillionaire? Look around. Take in your limitless inheritance, your life, your breath, your bones. You already are.
Mm-hmm.
That's fire, Amber.
Oh, thanks. Thank you.
What comes to mind when you hear that?
Just like really in the moment, you know? I'm just noticing on the cover that my dear mentor's words are there and how that would have just been such a dream, you know, years and years ago that it's like the way the pearls are on the strand and how these things connect. It just leaves me in awe constantly of how these things unfold and how I didn't do anything to make that happen, right? Like I wasn't masterfully grabbing the levers. Like I tried that for so many years. And so I think 39 on, you know, and Alex coming into my life, it was really, I mean, I got this tattoo on my wrist and the word says held. And then I have these 2 stars for my kids. And I got this because it was like, are you going to remember that now? That like life holds you and your job is to trust it and to be with it. You have enough data. We've shared it all in this podcast. There's enough data at this point for you to reference that every little thing's going to be all right, babe. And you're on the right track, and you got to let your heart keep leading and bleeding. Yes, too. Both, right? Both. Let it lead, let it bleed. Like, let yourself feel, let yourself fall apart back together. This is the miracle. Each other, being together, this conversation, getting to look at each other in the eyes, getting to hear each other's voices. Like, you're alive. Please do something with that. Transcend beyond the story of the victim, because guess what? We are all survivors of something. Every one of us has gone through unthinkable things that we never want to speak of again. And I bow down to you, every one of us that has survived the hard things we've survived. But like, let's rise from that and use that to move forward and create the life that we're here to really live and to share with people. And that's the drumbeat of my heart now. And I feel like I'm being really held accountable to that spiritually, right? Just by like the way that my life has unfolded, by the fact that I'm a mother to these 2 kids, which are the most important accountability system there is, and to the former versions of me that went through what they went through so I could sit in this chair and be this version of me today.
Amber Lilyestrom, thank you so much for joining the show. As I said, author, speaker, business coach, D1 athlete, wife, forest fairy, podcast host, and a mother of 2. Amber, thank you so much. I really appreciate it.
Thanks, Troy. I love you. Appreciate you.
Love you too. That's the one and only Amber Lilyestrom. For your daily dose of inspiration, you can follow her on Instagram at Amber Lilyestrom, and her lovely new book, Little Big Beautiful Things, is also available on Amazon. Link is in the show notes. As for us, we've got a ton of events coming up in the next few months. This Friday, Seacoast Stories Dinner Club, presented by Market Square Bakehouse, is in Amesbury. Then on April 15th, we're taking Dinner Club to Manchester. On Friday, April 24th, it's the return of Seacoast Singles. We did this last fall, and it was a huge hit, so we're bringing it back, this time to 3S Art Space. If you are single and you want to meet other single folks and you're over 35 years old, then we strongly recommend you come. Younger people, don't worry, we'll have another singles night for you in the very near future. Oh, and the next Seacoast Stories Live, it's happening on Thursday, May 7th. In this live edition of the show, I'll talk to popular past guest Max Pruna. He's the owner of La Molita Coffee. Popular Seacoast musician Caitlin Piper will take the stage to play some of her signature songs. And then in our headliner, Portsmouth's very own Stephanie Shaheen will sit down with me to talk about the state of New Hampshire, her U.S. congressional run, and her daughter's battle with type 1 diabetes, a subject that is very near and dear to my heart and this show. And it's happening at Stone Church in Newmarket. And it is the very first live podcast in the history, the illustrious history of Stone Church. I'm very proud of that, very excited for that. For tickets to any of these events, just check out the links in the show notes. Thank you all for listening. A huge thank you to Amber for sharing her story these last 2 weeks. And a big thank you to LANEY and Lou, 27 Tees, and Girl Scouts of the Green and White Mountains for supporting this show. And to all of the incredible women who joined me for our 2nd annual Women's History Month celebration. The women here really are the backbone of this community, and I'm so inspired by you all every day. I'll see some of you Friday in Amesbury, but until then, have a great week, everybody. I am so grateful for all of you. Live free or die.